All right, guys, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving, too. We have it is a three-game slate. It's not the best three-game NFL slate, but we have $1 million up top. Again, hope you guys all enjoy your day, eat some good food. And, let's talk about this slate. So first I want to go over the pretty big news that we got. CeeDee Lamb is out. I was originally thinking he wasn't going to play at first, at the beginning of the week because of his concussion. And then we got news yesterday that he was practicing, so I was thinking he was going to play. And now we got news that he is out. So that's going to open up a good amount of value there for Dallas with their top receivers now being Gallup and Cedric Wilson. Noah Brown, Malik Turner most likely filling in as that number 3 wide receiver role. And then I think it is a boost to a guy like Dalton Schultz. But yeah, guys, leave some questions in the chat. Happy to answer them. Again, this will be a general Q&A live stream. And make sure, again, to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Josh Reynolds, he is viable, right? He's the flat min price. Now, he didn't get targeted. Or he did get targeted. He didn't have a catch. But if you go back and take a look at Detroit snap counts, he is in play for a punt play. Now, the question I have is, will we need to go to a guy like this? I'm not sure if we will. He played 90% of the snaps, but would you rather play Josh Reynolds or Cedric Wilson and the Cowboys, right, with CeeDee Lamb out? That's the question. Patrick, man, hope you have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. Old connection with Goff. Oh, that is true. I did not even think about that. He used to play in the Rams with Jared Goff. Diggs is so expensive. Yeah, but it's pretty easy to get to whoever you want in, right? With CeeDee Lamb out, Diggs by default is going to get a good amount of ownership. Now, I think he makes for an interesting fade in GPPs just because look at the wide receiver position. Almost everyone's going to try to go up and get to him. With CeeDee Lamb now out, Trevor Siemian season. Ugh. Oh, man, I don't know if I can stomach that in Thanksgiving, especially with the fact Taysom Hill will probably come in during the red zone. Oof, I don't know if I can do that. Matthew, that was hilarious. That was pretty funny. He was saying Lamb was in. And honestly, I was looking at Twitter. I didn't think he was going to play, but we didn't actually people were mentioning Jay Glazer, and if you looked at Twitter, he didn't have a tweet, so it wasn't fully confirmed at that point yet. But yeah, people were getting pretty upset. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you as well, man. Tough between Sanders and Beasley. It is with those two, the secondary Buffalo wide receivers, right? The positive is they're going to play a lot of snaps, and Buffalo's offense is probably the offense I'm the most confident in this 3-game slate. And with Sanders, we expect 90+% of snaps. Cole Beasley probably plays at least half the game, and he'll get targeted a decent amount. So I agree, it's a tough one. I would say Cole Beasley is probably a little bit safer, and that Emmanuel Sanders I think has more big play upside. Tommy, happy Thanksgiving, man. You had a good day at NBA, right? Because I think you had the same lineup as me. Could have been a lot better if the Lakers actually played Dwight and DeAndre Jordan the full 48 minutes. Because in the fourth quarter, they basically just closed small. What do you think about Marquise Goodwin if he suits up? Yeah, so I think he's confirmed in. Yeah, he is. So no Allen Robinson. I expect him to be the number 2 wide receiver here. He is a guy that does have some big play upside. With Andy Dalton playing quarterback, maybe a slight boost to him. If you take a look here, let's take a look at snap counts here for Chicago. He played a decent amount last game, and that was with Allen Robinson out. Once this loads, it's taking a little bit to load up. So yeah, he played 71% of snaps, Damiere Byrd 63%. So between the two, I feel a little more comfortable with Marquise Goodwin than Damiere Byrd. But I think he is viable for a cheap play. I don't think he'll be super popular. It's going to be hard to fade Zeke with no CD and Coop. Yeah, I think they might rely on the ground game a little bit more. But you also have Tony Power that looks good behind him. So and Zeke is a little bit banged up too, so maybe he doesn't get the full workload. But I agree. I think they might rely on the ground game a little bit more. Lamb out. Yep, we got confirmation that he is in fact out. You trust any Cowboys backs? I don't think either are a must in Zeke or Tony Pollard. Now, Tony Pollard, let's take a look at the snap counts last week for Dallas, right? And this was when Zeke did get a little bit banged up. It was like a 70-30 split. And that's kind of what I expect for them again. So 70-30 split with Zeke at 8K and Tony Pollard 5.6. Both a little bit overpriced, but like it is pretty easy, like I said, to get whoever you want in. So I think I would rather play Zeke than Tony Pollard. Walker's due for touchdown. Walker or Waller? Darren Waller, I mean. I like Darren Waller. How are you approaching Ingram and Tony Jones? I don't think Mark Ingram plays. I think they said it's an uphill battle that he plays. So I think Tony Jones makes for a pretty good value play. Is he a must? No, because the Saints could do some weird things. Like they have a wide receiver that could play some running back in Ty Montgomery. He was actually playing. It was a couple of weeks ago. He was splitting with Mark Ingram, and then he got injured early on. So like, I don't think Tony Jones just comes into a true workhorse role. Like they can incorporate Ty Montgomery, maybe Dwayne Washington. They dust off Dwayne Washington. But I do think if Mark Ingram's out, that Tony Jones makes for a pretty good value. I don't know if he's necessarily a must, but I think he'd make for a good value. And so yeah, I don't think Mark Ingram plays. From what I see, he tried to practice yesterday. He like went through stretches and then left like right away. So that's not a good sign. Yeah, I don't think Ingram plays. I don't think he plays. Gallup is a pretty high upside. I agree. Yeah. I think, he's going to be the number one wide receiver. Him and Dalton Schultz is going to get more targets too. He had 10 targets last week. We know Michael Gallup's got the big play upside. 5.9 is not a terrible price for a guy that is now going to be operating as the number one wide receiver. Yeah, I think they're both a little bit overpriced, but both still in play. Like I said, value it's pretty easy to get whoever you want in. So I'm fine still going to Zeke. I would rather play Zeke than Tony Pollard, just because of the snap counts and the fact that if Tony Pollard was like 4 or 5, I would have more interest. But he's still a price point where a little bit hard he's at 5.6, so a little bit hard for me to play Tony Pollard over a workhorse back in like David Montgomery, or a little bit hard for me to play Tony Pollard over Josh Jacobs, who got a good amount of snaps last week too, and was heavily involved in the passing game. So yeah, Dallas. Let's see. Dallas stack or Bills stack. I think those are the top stack. Those are the top stacks you're going to feel the best about. I'll say I'm a little more comfortable with the Bills stack, just because they're not really missing any pieces. We're Dallas a little bit thin at wide receiver. DK, feeling thank for all the content you provide. Hey man, Joel, really appreciate that. Thanks. You fading Zeke? I'm not sure yet. I honestly haven't built my lineup. I usually build it in like the last 20-30 minutes. I have an idea of what I want to do. And Zeke's in consideration for me. Great night last night. Was tilted by the straight up live quote from Vogel. Exactly, right? We could have, and then the foul trouble too. Don't get me started with that. Sabonis, Suggs, and Dwight Howard. Like, I was in so much pain. Can't fade Zeke on Thanksgiving. Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's a must, but like I do agree that I think Dallas might rely on the ground game a little bit more. Thoughts on Matt Breida? So if I'm gonna roll the dice on one of the running backs in a 3-headed monster, I think it would be Breida, because they said they wanted to give him more touches. Now, I'm just gonna say this: you can't trust Coach Talk. I've trusted Coach Talk a lot, and it's burned me a ton, especially in like preseason. So like, yeah, they said they want to give him more work. He's looked good. Do I necessarily trust it? No, but I think if I was gonna take a shot in one of those guys, it would be Breida. Do you think Renfrow will be covered by Diggs? Probably not. I don't think he moves into the slot. Hawkinson, the best play on the slate. He'll be pretty low owned. I think with Jared Goff playing quarterback, he does get a little bit of a boost. I'm not going to talk you off TJ Hawkinson, because it's like you know where the offense, like where the ball is going in lines. It's DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson. Why is no one talking about Malik Turner? I think Malik Turner's in play in a large field tournament, right? He is technically number 4 in the depth chart. But he might, I think he's a little more talented than Noah Brown. They have Noah Brown listed ahead of Malik Turner. So let's just take a look at Dallas and their snap counts last week. I know Malik Turner got in at the end of the game last game, but that was kind of in a blowout. Yeah, so Noah Brown played 63%, Gallup 94%, Cedric Wilson 63%, and CeeDee Lamb, once he got injured, only 54%. So Malik Turner only saw 12%. It could change. But I think I would feel more comfortable with Noah Brown, even though I think Malik Turner is probably a little more of a skilled receiver. Any exposure to the first game? So, if I was going to fade a game, it probably would be that game. But I think I'm going to have some exposure. I don't think I'm going to full fade it. If you have Tony Jones locked in, running back and Ingram does play or screwed though, right? That's so like I'm gonna have a decent amount of exposure to that late game, and I think what I'm gonna do is if Ingram does get ruled in and there's no limitations, I can either try to pivot to get Ingram in, or I'll just pivot to Matt Breida and fingers crossed he does get more work, and then I can move some stuff around. Now, if you only have one spot in the late game and Tony Jones is in your lineup, and then Ingram gets ruled in, then you're in a tough spot. But like, be ready, have a backup plan just in case. Like I think I know what I'm going to do since I'll have a decent amount of exposure to the late game if Ingram gets ruled in. So Waller or Schultz now, that's a really good question. I think it's basically a coin flip because I think Schultz gets more targets now without CeeDee Lamb, and obviously Waller is just going to be the guy that gets peppered targets for the Raiders. So I like both. Tony Jones probably a safe play in cash right now, assuming these reports are yeah, I agree. I think Tony Jones, like I don't think Mark Ingram plays. Now again, I think you can make the argument to fade him in GPPs if Ingram gets ruled out because the Saints control us. Ty Montgomery is a guy that if you want someone that like could win you $1 million, it's a massive risk. But like I think Ty Montgomery gets some snaps at running back here. He was against Tampa Bay and then he got injured pretty early. Or was it here against Tennessee? I forget. Maybe it was the Tennessee game. He had one carry. Like they were going back and forth with him and Ingram and they got injured right away. So like I think he is really, really sneaky just for a large field tournament. Ty Montgomery and Swift or Schultz and Sanders. Yeah, so the Schultz-Sanders is just way safer, right? Because I don't know what the Saints are going to do. Montgomery only really becomes viable for me if Ingram is out. And I don't think he plays. Diggs or Zeke more optimal. I mean, the safer play is always going to be the running back, right? Because he's just more guaranteed touches. But I think Diggs has more upside here. I mean, it's pretty close. You can play both. I think it's pretty easy to get both in. See Lamb out, thought he was in. Yeah, so like Monday, I didn't think he was going to play because he had a concussion. Wednesday, we got news he practiced, so I thought he was going to play. And then we got news he got ruled out. Renfrow or Gallup? That's a good question. I think it's Gallup for me. Why does everyone like Swift? I think that people like Swift because of his pass catching ability, right? He's going to get targeted a decent amount. Now, the deal with Jamal Williams back. Let's take a look at the snap counts last week for Detroit. I'm curious for running back what the split was. So, yeah, it was about a 70-30 split. And that's probably what I'm expecting for this one, too. Bill stack, do you run it? You don't have to run it back. I don't think you do. It's a 3-game slate. This is not like a 12-game main slate where, running it back with someone is probably a good idea. You wouldn't have to. But on a 3-game slate like this, I definitely don't think it's needed. So, like, if you are running a Bill stack, I don't think you have to run it back with someone on the Saints. Dwight was on pace for, like, probably 30 fantasy points at least if he didn't get in foul trouble. Rocco last night. I played him. So, I had Nurkic in my late slate lineup, and it was looking amazing. But I had Robert Covington in the lineup, who had negative 0.5 and got ejected. Yeah. Any interest in the Saints wide receivers? I guess a little. I feel more comfortable with I feel more comfortable with like Dak Prescott throwing the ball. I feel more comfortable with Josh Allen throwing the ball than I do with Trevor Siemian. Now, I do think the ownership will be low on probably all the Saints wide receivers. Traquan Smith, probably my favorite. But, like, there's no one I'm, like, looking at the Saints. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm really I feel really good about getting the Saints wide receiver in my lineup. So, they're playable. For sure playable on a small slate. But, yeah, I'm not, like, super excited to jam one of them in. Thoughts on Dak stack with Gallup? So you're doing the triple stack. I don't hate it. I think, that's the highest over-under of the slate, so I'm fine with it. Waller and Callaway or Schultz and Montgomery? Schultz and Montgomery for me. Rank Gallup, Renfrow, and Mooney. That's a tough question because I think all three look pretty good in that mid-range. I'll say Mooney, then Gallup, then Renfrow. Best value? Probably Tony Jones if there's no Mark Ingram or those cheaper Dallas wide receivers now without CeeDee Lamb. Thoughts on Dak stack with, okay, we're over that. Why is everyone saying Lamb is out? Isn't he in? He's out, yeah. He was the status was up in the air for a bit, but he's confirmed out now. How do you feel about Josh Jacobs? I think he's playable, right? My issue always with Josh Jacobs in previous years was there's no real involvement in the passing game. But even when they fell behind big time, he stayed out there. He had 7 targets here. Let's take a look at the snap counts there for the Raiders. Let's go to Las Vegas. So, yeah, it's about a 60-30 split, and that's a really good sign, because in a game they fell behind big time, you would have thought that Kenny and Drake would have got way more work, but they kind of stuck with Josh Jacobs. So I think that makes him a little bit more game flow independent, meaning whether they are playing from head or behind, he's still firmly in play. Yeah, Sanders or Beasley is a tough one for me, right? I think Beasley's a little bit safer. I think Sanders is a little more upside. Guys, if you're just coming in, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 100 concurrent viewers. Appreciate you guys. Dak or Allen in cash, I think those are probably 2 guys you consider in cash games. So I don't have a super strong lean. I think those are the offenses I'm the most confident in. Is it stupid to fade Cedric? You don't have to play Cedric Wilson. I expect him to play a decent amount, and he's only 3.5K. So he looks good, but he's not a must. Zeke Beasley or Swift and Renfro. I'm going to say the Zeke Beasley one. I basically like the whole Cowboys offense, so I think Zeke's a good play, even though I think he's a little overpriced. Again, pretty easy to get to whoever you want in, and then I like the main 2 wide receivers and Schultz too. Goodwin might outperform Mooney. That would be kind of surprising. I expect Mooney to be the clear number 1 wide receiver here. So I think Goodwin's got like the big play upside. No, Zeke's not a lock, but I think he looks like a good play. Allen, Montgomery, Swift, Gallup, Mooney, Reynolds, Waller, Sanders, Bills. Yeah, I think it looks solid. Run forward Mooney. Probably lean to Mooney. I just think, he's going to have more. He's basically going to play the entire game. Renfrow will be out there in passing downs. So I think Mooney has more opportunities. And plus, it's a good matchup, too, against the Lions. So I think Mooney's the guy I feel better about. On a 3-gamer, how many should you stack? Yeah, I don't think you have to go crazy with your stacks. Again, like I said, I don't think you have to bring it back with someone, too. What's your plan for defense? Pray that the defense I play doesn't kill me. I usually go to a cheap defense. You played Nurk, had room to swap to line, and CJ killed me. CJ's just like, he's a frustrating player in DFS right now. Fine to play Montgomery and Mooney. Yeah, I think it's okay. Like, I do think Dalton playing is a little bit of a boost to the passing attack. So is Ingram really looking like... I think he's more on the doubtful side. Juwan Johnson in play, playable. I do think he sees the field. He's probably their best pass-catching tight end now for the Saints. Renfrow, Mooney. Allen, Zeke, Montgomery, Beasley, Gallup, Renfrow, Knox, Sanders, Bears, T. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Lions defense, they're probably the cheap defense I would consider. At home, going up against Andy Dalton and the Bears. Not gonna feel good about it, but like they're pretty cheap. Can you play 2 tight ends? No, I think that'll make your lineup different. I think. Like I don't think a lot of people on a 3-game slate will want to play 2 tight ends together. I think a majority of people will play either wide receiver or running back in that flex spot. So it'll make your lineup different in tournaments. And I think the tight ends look pretty good this week for this 3-game slate. You got Bill Sack and 5K flex. Deciding between Cole Beasley and Sanders. Any lean? Not really. I'm going to be honest. Not a big lean there. Again, I think Sanders has a little bit more upside. He'll play a little bit more. Beasley probably a little bit safer coming out of the slot. I don't have a super strong lean in that. Is it good to play for GPP? Is it good to pivot off Schultz with TJ Hawkinson? So I think Hawkinson's he'll be a lot lower owned. And Hawkinson can still get there, right? Jared Goff playing a quarterback is a little bit of boost to Hawkinson, in my opinion. I think Hawkinson goes overlooked. So I don't think a lot of people are going to go crazy in this early game. So in tournaments, that's fine. Would I be surprised if Hawkinson outscores Schultz? No. I think Schultz looks more better on paper. That doesn't mean he's going to outscore him. Cedric Wilson or Tony Jones? Probably Jones, assuming that Ingram's out. Knox in play? Yeah, I think Knox is, again, tight end. I like tight end this week. Or today, I guess. Yeah, Dawson Knox, he played 98% of the snaps. He had 10 targets. Now, probably a little of an outlier week, but like he's gonna get a hefty amount of targets. You have Schultz without Blake Jarwin. basically playing the entire game. Darren Waller obviously looks good, and then Hawkinson now too. So yeah, Mooney or Waller. Waller if you have the salary, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, yeah, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Adam. Saints play a lot of zone, makes me like Beasley a good bit. I think he has a good chance to get Pepper targets. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, if they do run a lot of zone coverage again, then that's good for the slot wide receiver. So, yeah, I think Beasley's a pretty safe play. I think it's okay to play Lions D, right? If you just look at the defense, like you have the Raiders defense, who I wouldn't feel great about going up against Dallas. I mean, I know the Dallas offense didn't look great last game, but I'm kind of just throwing it out the window. Don't care. So, like, probably the cheapest defense I would consider would be the Lions. You want to play 3 tight ends? Yeah, again, I think tight end looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good this week. So I'm fine playing 2 tight ends in the lineup. A lot of teams are trying to prevent those big deep plays with the Bills. Now I'm gonna air it out. Yeah. So if they're gonna play more safe coverage and try to prevent the deep plays, then that's gonna open up a lot of looks for Cole Beasley. Dak Jacobs or Allen and Pollard? Dak and Jacobs for me. And the reason is I think Pollard's overpriced. Not that he's out of play. For a guy that's going to play about 30% of the snaps, unless like something happens to Zeke and he gets banged up. Like he got a little bit banged up last game, but like Zeke usually toughs it out. So unless something happens to Zeke, I think Pollard is just a little bit overpriced. So I think I'd rather go to Dak and Jacobs. And again, with Josh Jacobs, like the really positive thing was they fell behind big time last game, and he still played majority of the game. He was still out there. He was catching passes too. So that's something we haven't seen from Josh Jacobs the previous couple of years. Thoughts on Dak, Montgomery, Swift, Gallup, Wilson, Mooney, Waller, Hawkinson, Bills defense. Okay, yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Double tight end, I like it. I've got 2 Bears players. Can I play? Yeah, I think it's like you can definitely play your defense against like someone in, like a wide receiver or something in your lineup. So don't feel like you have to avoid. Like if you have one Saints player, don't feel like you have to avoid the Bills defense, right? It's a 3-game slate, so you can definitely play your defense against like a wide receiver or 2. Samuel, man, happy Thanksgiving. Sanders or Renfro? Lean to Sanders there. Happy Thanksgiving, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Wilson or Schultz? I feel more comfortable with Schultz. Like I think he's going to get a good amount of targets. He was their top wide receiver last game. Once CeeDee Lamb went out, I think he had 8 targets. Dalton Schultz did. So I think he's your safest bet on the Cowboys. I expect him to be a security blanket in the highest total game of the week. I like him. Or I keep saying week of the highest total of the day. Let's see. Would you play Swift and Montgomery in the same lineup? I think you could. I think they both look decent. Should be a relatively ugly game, but like I expect Montgomery played 95% of snaps. So if we get close to that again, he's going to look like a really good option. And then DeAndre Swift is going to be peppered with targets. So I think you could play them both together. Darnell Mooney and Waller or Tony Jones and Diggs? That's a good question. It's hard because we don't know the Mark Ingram status right now. So, like, I'll say Mooney and Waller is just safer because, you know, what happens if Mark Ingram gets ruled in? The worst case scenario here would be Mark Ingram gets ruled in, but is going to be limited. And then that just takes, like, everyone out of play for the Saints running backs. Then I don't want to play Ingram. Then I don't want to play Tony Jones, right? Then I just want to avoid that backfield. That is the worst case scenario, that's another scenario you have to consider. It's possible that could happen. Mark Ingram plays, but it's going to be limited, like on a snap count. No turkey for me, but probably. Is it okay to leave 800 on the table? Yeah, on a small slate like this, I am more open to leaving salary on the table, right? In the larger field tournaments, you got to get different somehow. Whether it be you take a shot on someone super low owned and hope they catch a long touchdown or something. Or, you know, if you're building a chalkier lineup, leave some salary on the table. That'll make your lineup different. Yeah, man. Have a good one too, Matthew. Hawkinson and Bears D or Schultz and Lions D? Probably the Schultz and Lions D one. Who do you think will surprisingly be low owned? That's too tough of a question. I don't even know. Surprisingly will be low owned. I'm going to say one of these tight ends. I'm going to say like I'll say like Knox or Schultz because like most people are only going to play one tight end, and I think people are still going to go up to Waller. So I'll guess on this and say like Schultz or Knox are going to be surprisingly low owned. That's a tough question though. That's just me thinking it through. I'm like, okay, I don't think a lot of people are going to play two tight ends together. If they're only playing one tight end, they probably go up to Waller. So Foster Moreau is a bit of a contrarian option. Let's talk about him. Yeah. My issue with Foster Moreau is there's just too many good tight ends, right? Like I just don't think I can play a backup tight end, right? Like I would much rather go to Cole Kmet, who's going to play majority of the game for a little bit more. So yeah, it's going to be contrarian, but like you need something really weird. Like if you're playing Foster Moreau, you probably need Waller to get banged up early on, and then Moreau becomes the starting tight end, because I just don't see a way where like a backup tight end outscores one of these starting tight ends who, in my opinion, the top 5 guys look pretty good to me. So I think that in my opinion is probably a little bit too cute. If Mark Ingram's out, that's why I think Ty Montgomery, guys, is one of those like dart throws in tournaments that could win you a lot of money. It's not something I am super confident in, but 2 games ago, early on, they were going back and forth with Mark Ingram and Ty Montgomery at running back. And early on, Ty Montgomery got injured and left. And then Mark Ingram proceeded to play basically the entire game. And then the next game, Ingram just played like the entire game too. And now Montgomery is back. So if Mark Ingram is out, what I expect to happen is probably Tony Jones to start. But I think Ty Montgomery gets mixed in too. They're basically, Tony Jones is the flat man price of running back. Montgomery's the flat man price of wide receiver, even though he probably plays a decent amount of running back. So I do agree. I think he's sneaky. And maybe if you just want to play, if you want to like get leverage to the field, if Mark Ingram was ruled out, maybe you just play Montgomery over Tony Jones, because I don't think anyone plays Ty Montgomery today. Andy Dalton stack. Andy Dalton, Swift, Montgomery, Diggs, Wilson, Mooney, Waller, Piercy, and Cash. So like in my opinion, I probably go spend up at one of the quarterbacks in cash games. I do think Andy Dalton's playable for tournaments. Do I trust him in cash though? That's the thing. I don't know if I trust. I think there's enough value to just get one of those top quarterbacks. Have Pitts want to upgrade for the push, trade CH for Andrews, loaded running back. Upgrade for the push, trade CEH for Andrews. I'm fine with that. Yeah, if you're loaded at running back. CD out, yep. Thoughts on Josh Reynolds with Goff under center? Yeah, I do think he's more in play. He's the flat min price, and I expect him to play a majority of the game. So we got to keep it hush so we win money, DK. Yeah, I mean, it's a risk. It's a risk for sure with Montgomery, but that's a play I'm considering. All right, guys, any other questions? I can stand for a couple more minutes of DB. We are at about 130 concurrent viewers right now, 40 likes. Appreciate you guys and spending your Thanksgiving morning with me. Are you worried about Mooney's foot injury at all? No, because like he wasn't like questionable, right? Like he who was eliminated all through the Bears doesn't have a designation. Yeah, so like yeah, they limited him, but like no, I'm not gonna get off Mooney because of that. I think he looks like one of the safer plays in the board. Fading Swift and hoping Ingram plays, LOL. Yeah, so that's another one where it's like, if we get news after the first 2 games locked that Mark Ingram is in fact in, and there's no limitations, I kind of like Mark Ingram, because then this is like NBA game theory coming into it, where if Ingram gets ruled in after the first 2 games start, Ingram's going to be pretty low owned. So that's another situation where I wouldn't mind getting to Ingram if he plays, if there's no limitations. Favorite high owned fade? I don't have a good answer for that. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. 1, because I don't look at ownership, and 2, I think it's pretty easy to get to whoever you want. So Knox or Cole Beasley? Yeah, I think both look good. I don't have a super strong lean there. I think that's one where both get a decent amount of targets. Knox, might be lower owned since he's a tight end, and tight end is actually pretty loaded today. After Hawkins got me 0, he made. I feel ya. Yeah, he got a donut that one. Well, that was that gross game though. That was the overtime game. That was one of the worst games I've ever watched as a Lions fan. That was hard to watch. What website can we check snap counts? Let's see. What is this called? Footballoutsiders.com. That's what I use. You can just Google it. Like, I just Google NFL snap counts. I think there's a lot of websites that do it, but that's just the one that I use. Allen, Dave Montgomery, Swift, Diggs, Mooney, Wilson, Knox, Jones, and Bills D. I think it's a good lineup. Played RJ Hampton last night. Oof. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, the Magic is just one of those where it's like, if you thought the game was getting competitive, obviously you wanted the starters. And since the game stayed close, the starters all smashed. I stuck with the starters. Like, I played Suggs and Carter Jr. went pretty well. But I knew there was still a chance the game blew out. Allen Beasley and Renfro or Dak, Diggs, Noah Brown. The first one. I'm just more comfortable with the first one. Noah Brown's role, he's playable, but like I'm not convinced he gets all these snaps. They could work in Malik Turner. What's the best trade, CH for Andrews or Mitchell and Pitts for Andrews and Hopkins injured? Mitchell and Pitts for Andrews. Probably the second one, actually. If you're getting Andrews and then Hopkins, I think Hopkins is coming back soon. Pollard and Zeke together. Well, on a 3-game slate, I can't fully rule it out. Like, is it possible they both score and get and outscore all the running backs in the slate? It's not likely, but I guess possible. It'll make your lineup really unique. It is nowhere near optimal. I'm not going to completely rule it out because you never know. Something weird could happen. The second game can just be a shootout, and Zeke can go for like 100 yards and 2 scores, and Tony Pollard can go for like 50 yards and a score and a few catches. So it's not out of play. It'll make your lineup very unique, but it's nowhere near optimal. Montgomery cooked the Lions last time. Yeah, and he played 95% of the snaps. He played 95% of the snaps last game. Jackson, a good punt. I think I would prefer other wide receivers who are going to play more. But he's got deep play. He's got big play upside, so I'm not going to tell you not to play him because he could still catch a long one and be in the winning lineup. Fading Diggs. Yeah, so that's one where I think he's an interesting fade in large field tournaments because you just look at the wide receiver position. Now you have a big gap with CeeDee Lamb out. CeeDee Lamb and Cooper out. So you have like a $2,000 gap between Diggs and the next most pricey wide receiver. So I think Diggs, by default, is just going to get a lot of ownership. Thoughts on Dak, Montgomery, Swift, Gallup, Mooney, Wilson, Schultz, Waller, and Chicago defense? I like it. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it on that, though. So good luck today. I hope you guys all win some big money. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Eat some good food. And I will see you guys back here in the next live stream. NBA, I'll video up later tonight, and I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. So good luck on this slate, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.